Should pick you up, Steve.
Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to the Department of Veterans Affairs Canada for partnering with our town to fund this project through the Commemorative Partnership Program, the Community War Memorial Funding. We're really grateful to have such a fine day, such good weather to honor and commemorate our veterans who have served us with such dedication and commitment and who put their lives on the line for our country. I think it's really important that we take this time to really acknowledge and with great thanks their contribution to our country and to our community and to our province. I also want to thank the Heritage Committee members for their research on this project. There's a lot of research that goes into each member, each name that you see here. The stories have all been carefully researched, and the families, and so this is a real passion, a real commitment for people to take on this project and do the research that's required. I want to thank you and welcome the family representatives of Daniel W. McInnes and William Joseph Stewart for attending today, both those available in person and both those joining us virtually. The purpose of this project is to ensure that those who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country during wartime are not forgotten. This project recognizes and honors 10 soldiers who made that ultimate sacrifice. 10 soldiers who did not return from overseas conflicts or who died at home as a result of the injuries received in those conflicts. This project has also made the existing cenotaph fully accessible with the walkway installation so that it can be used as an engagement piece for Veterans Armed Forces members and residents of all abilities. It will also serve as a community learning piece for our youth. And I want to really thank the federal government for their contribution to this project, the Honourable Lawrence Macaulay and his staff, and the Community War Memorial funding that made this all possible. This is intended to be a place where people can gather throughout the year for remembrance and reflection. 2 interpretive panels have been installed and been created by the Town of Stratford Heritage Committee to tell the story of the 10 individuals, one each for World War I and one for World War II. At this time, I would like to introduce and invite Assistant Deputy Minister, Chief Financial Officer, and Corporate Services with Veterans Affairs, Assistant Veterans Affairs Canada, Sarah Lance, to bring greetings on behalf of Veterans Affairs Canada. Sarah was born and raised in Charlottetown, and we're pleased to have her join us today. And I know the commitment and the demands on her time for this week are huge, and so we really appreciate her making time to come and join us today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Mayor Ogden, for your kind introduction. First of all, today is Indigenous Veterans Day, and in that spirit, I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. It is my honor to be here today on behalf of Veterans Affairs Canada for the ceremony to honor services and sacrifice of 10 local veterans. That we're gathering in this way shows the deep respect that we have for all brave Canadians who have worn a military uniform. So many have given up so much for peace and freedom that we enjoy today. And now, during Veterans Week, we solemnly pay them tribute. 10 names are being unveiled in the Town of Stratford Honour Roll, and this is meaningful in many ways, not least because these people deserve to be remembered for what they have done for us. Having their names in the Honour Roll and telling their stories their service to Canada. Entire generations of Canadians answered the call during the great conflicts of the early and mid-20th century, and it's our duty, even now, more than 75 years after the Second World War ended, to keep telling their stories and talking about their service and sacrifices. I hope that when people see these names and read their stories, they'll be filled with a sense of pride that we all feel today as we learn about these brave Canadians and what they did in uniform. On behalf of everyone at Veterans Affairs Canada, please accept our thanks for recognizing these former members of our military in such an important way. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. At this time, I'd like to welcome Katrina Mugford, granddaughter of William Joseph Stewart, to bring forth a few words. Ms. Mugford's grandfather did not return home, which had a lasting effect on the family, including her grandmother, who was left a widow with small children, and her mother, who grew up without a father. The stories that we hear about the war are so touching and so difficult sometimes to relate to. I think this first-hand history is really important. It's something that we really need to bring it home to what it meant to families, and so that's why I think it's very important to hear from the families themselves about what the impact of their relative sacrifice had on their family. So at this time, I'd like to call Katrina Mugford forward to the podium to say a few words. Thank you very much for everything, for your family's contribution to Canada and for everything your grandfather did. Thank you, sir.
I would like to begin by extending a sincere thank you to the town of Stratford for the invitation for the unveiling of the honor roll for our fallen soldiers. My name is Katrina Mugford. I am the granddaughter of Private William Joseph Stewart, service number F50444, from the Carlton and York Regiment. My grandfather enlisted in the Army on January the 15th, 1940, and then went overseas in that following July of the same year. My mother, who was his youngest child of 3, would have been 6 months old at the time of his departure. My grandmother never forgot the day that 2 men knocked on her door to deliver the word that my grandfather had been killed in action on December 31st, 1943. My mother turned 3 years old that following January. Growing up, my grandmother always made sure we knew how brave my grandfather was and stressed how proud we should be to be part of a soldier's family. She was a very strong woman. She never did remarry and raised 3 children as a widow of a soldier. I once asked my mother what it was like growing up without a father, and she always replied, "You can't miss what you didn't know that you had," and made me well aware that there was never anything that they went without. Later in life, my grandmother's oldest son joined the forces. Her daughter took a position with the federal government, and my mother worked as an insurance broker. All 3 once children would all have a family of their own, and adding 13 grandchildren to the mix. The family legacy now is dwindling, with my aunt and my mother both gone, but I can assure you this: the legacy of Private William Joseph Stewart remains, like so many others who fought for our freedom and our country. Service number F50444, some would think is just a number, but for me it stands for so much more. My grandfather, Private William Joseph Stewart, a true Canadian hero.
Thank you, Katrina. Very touching and meaningful comments. At this time, Stephen Daniel Gauthier, grandnephew of Daniel W. McInnes, will be reading a poem entitled Thoughts of Home, which Daniel McInnes wrote and had published while he was overseas. So at this time, I'd like to call on Stephen Go, Jay. Thank you.
First, on behalf of my family, I'd like to thank the town of Stratford and the volunteers for their great work on this project. This is the poem, Thoughts of Home. Far beyond the dim horizon, far across the deep blue sea, is a place called P.E. Island, and it's home sweet home to me. 'Tis there my thoughts are ever turning. It matters not where I may be, for that tiny little island means more than all the world to me. Nestled on the ocean's bosom, rocked by every tiny wave, home of true and fearless people, none of whom should be a slave. Other distant splendors dazzle, but of that green isle I dream, till I see its red-brown coastline rising from the ocean's sheen. There again, when this is finished, may the world from wars free, may I tread that soil so welcome, and wander where the grasses lead. Then again will I be happy, it is there that I will be, till my days on earth are ended, and the soul of mine is free. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. That was very, very touching. Now, I would like to welcome Doug Kelly, a member of the town's Heritage Committee, to say a few words about the project. And as I said earlier, the Heritage Committee worked long and hard on this project and under the leadership of Doug Kelly, so I want to thank Doug for everything he's done.
Well, welcome. It's a day that was long in coming, but I'm glad we're here, and the weather certainly cooperated. I've been on the Heritage Committee for many years, and I don't think there's been a project that we've done that's touched me so much. Each November 11th, Stratford's honor roll is read out at Remembrance Day ceremonies. Through research, I was able to uncover a couple of more names and brought the number of individuals up to 10. 4 from the First World War and 6 from the Second World War. First World War, Chester Thomas Balderson, Kenneth Arthur Ferguson, John Gordon Mason, Alfred Lawrence Stewart. Second World War, Daniel William McGinnis, Donald Edison McCrae, Ralph Joseph McGarry, Allison Boyce Buddy McKee, James Theodore Roach, and William Joseph Stewart. The Heritage Committee agreed that we needed to do more to recognize these 10 than just have their names read out once a year. We considered street naming, but some of the surnames were already found on streets. We considered naming sections of Stratford trail system, but were concerned about accessibility. We eventually decided to do something here at Town Hall in the vicinity of our Veterans Monument. We worked with a landscape designer and came up with the concept of a pathway leading up to and surrounding the monument. Lining the pathway up to the monument, each of the 10 Roll of Honor are identified in metal plaques with their name and war, and empty boots as a symbol of fallen military personnel. Now, as one approaches the Veterans Monument, they pass through Stratford's Roll of Honor, forming their own honor guard. We've also included 2 interpretive panels, highlighting each soldier and airman in Stratford's Roll of Honor. 1 panel for each of the World Wars. You may note that the background decoration in each are leaves. For the First World War, the leaves are oak, symbolizing Britain. At that time, when Britain declared war, Canada was automatically brought into the conflict. However, by 1939 and the beginning of the Second World War, Canada stood as an independent nation, and the maple leaf, the symbol of Canada, is the background for the second panel. You will find the panel for the First World War under an oak tree, and the panel for the Second World War is under a maple tree. Through the enhancements to the monument surroundings, the addition of the Roll of Honor along the walkway, and the two interpretive panels, residents of Stratford will always remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice to their country. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I think at this time, we really need to think about the meaning of the sacrifice of these individuals and the impact on their families, the impact on the communities, the impact on the country. And the fact that we enjoy freedoms today that we would not have if it weren't for these individuals and putting their lives on the line, and people who continue to put their lives on the line. We need to really think about the meaning of what we do here today, that it's a symbol of our thanks, but it's also a time for reflection, to really deep within yourself think about the significance and the importance of the freedoms that we have, and how much we owe to these people who really went above and beyond in terms of their contribution to our community, to our province, to our country, and to the world by keeping us free. So at this time, I want to thank you for attending today, and I invite you to take a closer look at the interpretive panels in the walkway. We will also have time for photos and interviews by any member of the media who may be here. So again, I want to thank you all for coming and really underline the importance of the contribution of our veterans and everything that they've done for our country and continue to do for our country. Either here at home, at floods or disasters or plagues. It's really important, and in other countries, to keep warring factions apart. I think it's really, really important that we not only take today and Remembrance Day to think about that, but also throughout the year. So thank you all again for coming. Much appreciated. Thank you.